It's been coming for a while, but here's my personal R53 on the channel finally, and today I'm putting the leather dash out the R52 into my car. Let me show you the car quickly and then we'll get into the dashboard swap. Today we need to change this dashboard because we have this start button on here and we're going to use the leather dashboard out of the R52, but because of the wiring that goes on to the start button, we need to repin the ignition switch. To do this we need a few tools. We need to get these clocks out of the way here. We need to get this lower dash trim off as well, and we'll probably need to move this out of the way to get out the wiring, but I'll show you how to do the ignition switch first, and then obviously we'll cover this part off as we're going along. So let me get some tools and then I'll join you back here in a minute. To get the lower dash, this lower steering column part off here, there are two Torx screws. This is a T20. Let me just see if this is right. He says, I can't even see it. Yeah, so it's a T20. Those two will allow you to remove this lower section. This bit of rubber here will just pull out. So quickly undo them and then I'll join you back here in a minute. It's starting to split up there, look. So yeah, but this part here, this rubber bit, just has like a little slot in it, so you can just pull that off. Oh, and then that will leave this part like that. There we go. So see, I'm doing this one-handed, so it's a little more awkward. Right, and your ignition switch is this one here, and that comes off really easily. So I have little bits here which are additional for the start button. So this is the start button wiring loop, but you won't have this on your car unless you have a start button. So if you don't see this, don't worry about it. Also, there is a butt connector here because we had some issues with some of the wiring when we were taking it off, so we've had to extend it a bit, which isn't a problem. Now to get the ignition switch off, there'll be a little tab bit on here. So let me just see if I can do it. You can see it's there, and that should just pull out, and then that will come down like so. So that is the wiring loom for the car, and that is what we are going to be taking off in a sec. But if you need to change the ignition switch, that is this part here, and you can see there is a little grub screw there, and you need to undo that, and I think there is a second one behind this bit of wiring up here, and you need to undo that as well, and then that will just unplug from there, pull off, you put the new one in, and then clip that back in. It's that easy. The lower dash section, obviously you slot that back in, and then you obviously, before you push it all together, you need to push that in, twist it round, and then that will sit that way like so. So yeah, hopefully that helps somebody at least do that part of the job. Now for me personally, this is going to be a little bit more awkward because I need to get this bit of trim out here and I also need to get these clocks out and get this dash out of the way. So easy thing to do would be to probably get a tripod and set you up, but obviously there can't be much to see because I need to be in this section. So let me try and work something out and then I'll come back to you in a minute. Now at this point I'm trying to remove the dual clocks that go above the steering wheel, and it can be really awkward to see what you're doing. So the easiest way that I found is to take a screwdriver with a T20 bit on there and look through the windscreen, as you can see I'm doing here. Now the problem is on a day like today where the sun is quite low, it's reflecting off the screen, it can make it a little bit difficult. So I've had to shade some areas of the screen just so I can see what I'm doing. And it's really important at this point, especially if you have the lower steering column shroud in place, that plastic part that we removed earlier. If you're doing this up and you accidentally drop a screw or the washer down there, you will need to retrieve it because it will just rattle. So my advice would be, when retrofitting these back in, to do this part first before you put the lower section of the steering column on. Also, what I found can help if you're struggling a bit to keep the screws in place, if you can get a magnetizer for your screwdriver, that would help you quite a bit at this point in getting those in without them falling off. The hardest bit, surprisingly, or unsurprisingly in this case, is there's two tiny little washers that go through each bolt as you're screwing it in. They are very easy to lose, so just take a bit of care, have a bit of patience, and you'll find that this is fairly simple to do. But if you start trying to rush it, you can easily damage the dashboard or the clocks themselves. Also, while we are nattering away while doing this sort of stuff, has anyone used Lanagard before? Because I tried using it. My car now smells like a farm. I used it on the what section did I use it on? I used the moto grease stuff along the door sills and under the rear lights because I want to try and stop them from rusting. And honestly, it smells like sheep, which I get because it is a lanolin based product, but I wasn't expecting it to be very sheepy, if that's even a word. So yeah. Anyway, these dash clocks are out. So this just pulls out of here. Held in with some little spring clips out and a spring clips, and they put some like tape around it to stop them from rattling. So yeah, right, now we have this whole section out. This center section here, I think what we need to do is get that other bit of dashboard out first over there. So let's get that out of there. So we get this off first because this center section normally goes in first, and then the other bits sit on top of it. Parked very close to a bush. If you have a pre-facelift, that won't work. You'll end up ripping your airbag cover off. So, giving you a heads up now. Don't yank it if you've got a pre-2004 car. Now, this centre section here with this dash engine start button, this is genuine, very rare optional extra. It was normally retrofitted by dealers, but I think I've ordered one just to see. I think this start button is the same start button that's used in a Z8, which there aren't many of them about. The start button itself, you have to have the key in the second position to start the car, so it's not keyless start. It is turn to 2, then push to start. It works quite well. I've had it in for a couple of years, but obviously picking up that car with the leather dashboard, I was in a bit of a dilemma as to whether to cut that dashboard and install this start button in that, which purists will be probably screaming at the screen now, or relocate the start button into the sort of cup holders down by the gear stick. And again, I wasn't keen on that idea either, or repin the ignition switch back to stock and put the lever dash in, lose the start button for now. So I think that might be the option that we're taking. So I'm going to take it out, get the wiring back into stock position, which is really awkward on these cars. It is not easy. Part of that is the reason why the green was extended down there, because the problem with this start button is, say for example, like this wiring down here, you have to take these out of here and move them into different positions, which sounds relatively simple. It's not, because these are a massive ball ache to get out. So yeah, I think I've changed this a couple of times now. The only one I think I normally struggle with is that solid green one there. So I've got the wiring diagram. I think I've taken photos of it before I took it all apart. If I haven't, then this car originally I think had a sat nav. We've now got a chrono pack, which is all programmed to the car, but I might be able to go back to stock wiring, which I think I can probably use the R52 as a base to get this wiring into the right positions, hopefully. So yeah, that is all fun to come. I just need to undo these before I forget. So again, these T20s, there's a couple of screws up here. Yeah, the T20s. That will allow the whole centre section to come out as one piece. So there's one up there. Oh, look at that skill, one-handed. And then there's also one up this side as well, which is about there, I think. Yeah. Right, for one-handed, look at that. I'm holding the camera with one hand, screw with the other. Posh. Right, there we go. Right, there we go. That should now release the entire thing. He says. I've probably got is it these little ones I took off up there a minute ago. They have little ridges on the back, so I think I might put you down for that one. So let me put you down here for a sec. For those that are interested in the start button, this is how BMW sold them. So they cut a load of foam out the back, and I think they've just used a hole saw, cut through the back there, and it all clips into place. But actually, you can see there, I think, I can't remember, but I think that part number on the back there actually relates to a central locking button on a US style E30 maybe, can't quite remember, but anyway, something a bit weird and unusual. So this is where we are at. This is the floppy bit of loom here. We need to actually take this out because there is a scotch lock on the back of it, which I'll show you in a minute. I'm just going to pause it quickly and tidy this up a little tiny bit. So give me a minute. Right, lower dash trim is off. I had the shelf, so that has 2 extra bolts to go through here. If you just have the like little cubby hole bit here, but it's just plastic, you can just shank that down, that comes out. Now I have additional wiring under here for many things, including this here, which is for the start button. I have this here, which is an ultra gauge, so if you don't know what one of those is, look that up. Really useful if you've got a mini. That wiring up here is the video gauge set, which is another optional extra down there. And I'm just trying to think. Oh, that one is this shift light. I don't actually know what that one's for. Can't remember. But anyway, what we need to do is get the start button wiring out of the way. So to do that, we need to cut that cable tie there. There we go. And that is that big lump. Right, now what I need to do is obviously work out this bit of wiring here. Now, these parts are coming off of the start button, so they need to go back into this ignition module up here, but we need to just work out the order of them. So let me unclip all of these. I'll show you how to get these out in a minute, because these are actually quite easy. These ones are a pain in the arse, and I'll show you the tool to get them out, but obviously sometimes even the tool's useless. So let me get these out of the way, and then I will come back in a sec. So let me put you over here. I don't know how much you can see, but you might be able to see something compared to me just stopping and starting. So that and that there. Right. So that leaves us with this yellow and this red and green off the start button. So the yellow is in position 2 and the red and green is in position 9. So yes, right. Now to get these out, you need a de-pinning tool, and there are some really cheap de-pinning tools. They are crap, and there are some more expensive ones, like these. These aren't relative. These are like, I can't actually remember, 20 quid I think, maybe a little bit more than that. Either way, I'll post a link to these on the description below. I think you can buy these off of Amazon. But what we need to do is, you see they're different size holes on the end, and we have to line it up with which one is in our module. So let us see. Just think it might be 2. 2 the smaller one. Yeah. This is the problem with these. So these are really difficult to use. Really difficult. Okay. Right. What I end up doing, I've got a spare ignition module. Ended up just swapping that section over, because as you can see inside there, they are difficult to get out, and that includes using that release tool as well. This is the spare, so you can see what sort of connections they are on there. Basically it should slide over the top and then push through the center. I've got it actually, let me show you, because that'll probably be easier. So yeah, so basically you push that into the hole, and then you push against it and then the middle pops out like that, and that should release it. But that's in theory. In reality, it's a lot harder than that. Now, these little plugs here have the wiring that we need to put back in to our ignition module. So to get these out, there's a little blue slidey bit on them. You literally just push that up, and hopefully, where's my little tool? What do I do with it? I only had it, there you go. Mental. What if you just put it down? It's gone. Ah, there it is. So hopefully it'll show you on this. It just slides up, and then you can just push it up like that. So let's push it in. Hopefully you can see that. Let me try and zoom in a bit on there because it'll be a bit easier to show you. Great amount of fun there. So it slides in the end like so, and then pushes through the centre to release, which is what we have now. And what we don't want to do is lose these, because I'm sure you can probably still get them, but they're probably not as common as they once were. So again, I'll push that out of the way for a minute. So there's blue one there, that, put that in the end, he says, although that one, I don't know if that even fits in the end. Oh dear, nothing's ever simple on these cars, is it? That green one is normally a pain in the arse one. There we go, so that's in, and then we just push it and it releases. That's if it does what it's supposed to do, which most of the time with these type of connections it doesn't. So don't be surprised if you go to do it, it's a struggle. This is only if you need to fit a start button. There ain't going to be many people out there fitting start buttons for these. So, again, I'll try and do it this way around so you can see. So, push in the end. You need to make sure that goes in nice and tight like it is there. You literally then hold that, push up, and it should release it. So, let's do it again. It wants to come out. There we go. Job done. So there we have our 3 additional connections that we need to put back in to our ignition module. So just to quickly work out which ones they are. This green one is the nightmare one. So let's hope that goes in there. That's it. There we go. Right. Now, that should be all the ignition wiring back together, but we are not done because it's just a horrible, horrible job. Right. So now, I need to put that in there. Nice and straight, like so. And we need to tuck this out of the way. Because we've had to extend that in the past because of issues that we've had with it. So let's keep that up there, like so. Make sure it's all nice and tight. You can see, let me zoom out a bit, So you can see it's all back up into there. So this should be OEM wiring minus sat-nav. Sat-nav wiring is slightly different, has different positions. This should be enough to take it back to chrono pack equivalent, let's put it that way. Now, I can try and start the car on the key, that will confirm it. So you quickly go and grab that. Even though we have no dash clocks and that, it will still start. And it's a good test to make sure we've got all the wiring back in the right place before we put the car back together. Let's take that off. It's good. We're in a good place. We have no fires. We have no burnings. There we go. So that is all we need to know that this car is going to be good to go. Now, obviously we have the centre clocks out at the moment, so we're going to put them back in, start to rebuild the car back up, but we don't need this centrepiece anymore. So as I'm editing this, I've noticed there's quite a lot of outside noise going on, and because I'm working on a driveway, it's a little bit unfair for me to ask people to quieten down, and it's also a little bit unfair to have you guys listen to the noise that's going on. So at the moment we're trying to get the down tubes in, and these down tubes have a small rim around the bottom, so they need to be slid up through the bottom of that centre console piece. Some down tubes you can slide in from the top, but not these ones, they have to go through the bottom. So I'm just trying to put these back into place while being aware that the VDO gauge set is a little bit delicate. I don't want to damage that in any way. There are 2 screws in each of the down tubes. They're T40 bolts, and they go into some plastic connections on the back. Now you need to be really careful with those plastic connections, because if you tighten them up too much you can snap them and then your down tubes will start rattling. So at the moment we're just trying to get it all lined up, get it all into place, and the way that we can check this is inside the cup holder there are 2 screws that need to go in there, and there's also 2 screws that need to go where the mirror switch is. So we're just going to line those up. I'm going to sort of gun them in very gently with the screwdriver and then finish them by hand, because what we don't want to do is drill them in and then damage the plastic connection underneath so that they're not secure. So always be careful if you do have a gun, so you don't over tighten everything, because you'll end up damaging the plastic connections underneath there. Now the lever down tube sections, again they are a little bit delicate, need to be careful not to scuff them. This left hand side one that you're looking at in the video, there's a cup holder to go on there, so obviously any scuffs that are there from the previous car, the R52, we can hide some of those, but what we don't want to do is obviously cause any more damage than what's already there, because they are extremely rare. Now at the moment I'm just putting the 2 screws back in underneath the mirror switch, so again see me gun those in a minute. And also, while that switch is out, there are some little brass connections that hold the mirror switch into place. So if you're doing this yourself, make sure you take those out, because you will need those later on when you go to fit the mirror switch back on there. So all we're doing now is make sure everything's nice and tight, and then we will move on to put in the mirror switch back in. And the reason that we're leaving the T40s out on this side that you can see in the video is because we're going to put the cup holder in on this side, but I'm putting the 2 back in on the driver's side because we don't need to touch that side moving forwards. Now the down tubes are back in place, we're moving on to put in the wing mirror and heated seat button back into the car, and I'm trying to show that there's these little brass pins that sort of slide down the side of the switch, and there are normally I think 4 or 6 in total. Now if you are missing some, if you have a look underneath the wiring when you take the switch out, they're probably just laying in the bottom of the hole, so you can take them out, you can slide them in, and you slide them so that the brass angle is pointing outwards. The downside is obviously when you push them back in again, where they're sort of sprung, it will just pop back out with some of them, but the important thing is you've got a couple to hold in. So in a minute,
go back to the talking, which will be you watching me descend into madness as I put all these back in there. So enjoy.
I have the heated seat Loom. I've got a switch for it. I don't currently have the patience to sit there and repin it. So you can hear they just popped off under there anyway, but they are in. So that's how this side is now looking. Which looks good. Obviously this is where people's feet have been rubbing against it and legs, but we can use some leather cleaner on that to bring that back in time. A bit of conditioner for all of this, which we will go over and do once it's all back in the car, so then any scuffs or anything then there we can try and get rid of them as well. So yeah, need to make sure they're definitely in. I think they are. I need to be able to see the hole. So it's getting dark really quick, as you can probably tell. But I do want to get this done tonight if possible. But what we might have to do is cut back in tomorrow to show you the end result. This is the following day, and as you can see the leather dashboard is all in place alongside those chrome jewel clocks and the chrome rings for the dashboard itself, and alongside that black headlining. It's looking really nice in here now. I thought I'd show you a bit more of the car as well. So we've got the VDO gauge set, we've also got a black shift light, not the one out of the R52, this is another one. So the R52 one is still in there, and the most important thing in any car is the ultra gauge. So if you don't have one of these, I'll leave a link to the description below, but they really help keep an eye on the temperatures in these cars. And on the outside you can see, I thought I'd show you a little bit around the car. Absolutely fantastic British Racing green paintwork alongside the Mazda Dark Soul red roof. And you can see we have the aero spoiler, so we don't have the hole in the top like you do with the standard R53 spoilers. This one's a little bit more subtle. Also, GP rear inserts on the bumper, so the rear valance and the sides. I've wired these into the side lights using the genuine BMW wiring kit. Scorpion red power catback exhaust resonated, and we've also got these absolutely stunning Brembos from a Porsche Cayman, which are looking great behind those black wheels. Quick look at the engine bay. We've got a John Cooper Works strut brace. We've got the AirTech top mount intercooler and the John Cooper Works 210 kit alongside a few other bits. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that little insight into my personal R53, which I don't get a chance to work on very often. Hopefully you'll all agree that I made the best decision in not drilling holes into that leather dashboard and removing that OEM Start Button. But again, let me know in the comments what you guys would have done, and let me know if you think this is one of the best OEM plus R53s that you've seen out there, and also what you think of the car itself. So next week there will be a video that will be fitting the aero kit and the John Cooper Works brakes from the R52 that was on last week's video onto the new owner's car. In the meantime, if you haven't already, please consider giving this video the thumbs up, and also if you've made it to this point and you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll catch up with you next Tuesday 6 PM. In the meantime, have a great weekend and I'll see you soon.